Hi guys, welcome back to the channel, welcome back to another walk and talk video where today we are going to be discussing a little bit about cryptocurrency whilst trying not to get too muddy whilst out on about in the walk. So yeah, as I kind of get into today's video, if you do find it useful and informative, smash that like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. And if you haven't joined us in Discord, why not go ahead and check it out? Link is in the description below. So let's get right down into kind of what today's video is all about. And it's going to be a little bit about kind of FOMO and the fear of missing out, price predictions, avoiding mud. I feel like I'm going to do a really bad job at that part. And talking a little bit about kind of the state of the macro economy and why FOMO, why being bullish right now on the market might be a little bit foolish. So let's get into kind of the meat of this, right? So obviously $100,000 Bitcoin, it's a price number, it's a nice rounded figure. It kind of has a lot of kind of people feeling really confident that the market is now up, and only up. And of course we have to acknowledge that since kind of January 2023, there's been a big movement to the upside in the price action of Bitcoin, and talking about $100,000 and all these kind of things. But the reality of the situation is it hasn't actually moved up to where it needs to in order to avoid some big moves to the downside. This isn't to say that $100,000 Bitcoin isn't possible, because I do think we are going to see $100,000 Bitcoin in the future. This is more about whether or not we are going to do it the right way, the fast way, or just, unfortunately kick that can down the road a little bit further. Ultimately, I think that $100,000 Bitcoin is a nice, easy number for retail investors to kind of really get behind, to kind of feel really confident about. But it does kind of mean that we are going to potentially see some retail investors get wrecked, because all they are seeing is $100,000 price prediction videos or claims on X and so many other social media platforms where it's always just bullish news, bullish news, bullish news. This is also seen in the crypto media outlets as well, where there's so much bullish news kind of being published without actually taking stock or taking appreciation of the other side of the argument, which is that you can't just continue to move to the upside without having some kind of consequence to a reversal in the market. Okay, we do expect, and I think most people in this space at this point in time should be expecting a move to the downside. Okay, now this is not just a video where we're going to be bearish and we're just going to bash price predictions and talk about that fear of missing out actually being kind of one of your worst enemies, because I do think there's a time for it. I just don't think it's right now, specifically as we kind of get closer to the end of the year. $100,000 Bitcoin price is something that I think is going to happen at some point in Bitcoin's future. I just don't think it's going to happen right away, and I don't think it's going to happen the way that retail investors are expecting it to happen either. Now, we can obviously see that there are some interesting points of view, or some interesting perspectives on kind of the economy as well, right? We've seen another $100 billion added to US debt in just 15 days. So you tell me, how is that translates to $100,000 Bitcoin? Because it doesn't, not right away. At some point, we are going to see more banks fail, that we saw in 2022. We are going to see, potentially the US default. They're probably not, because they're just going to keep lifting the ceiling or potentially just get rid of it altogether. But, if they continue in the way that they are, then yeah, they're going to default unless something happens, right? Ultimately, what I see in the future is not necessarily overly positive based on the wider economic climate that we find ourselves in. You can disagree, you can kind of, keep crypto in isolation to the real world and everything that's going on around it, or you can kind of look at the market and say, why are we moving up? Who is benefiting from the price action moving up, and is now actually the time for reversal in the market? Okay, because we do see lack of volume, lack of demand for BTC. We do know that prior to the moves up in 2023, so late 2022, we had big exchanges on the verge of collapse or collapsing and filing for bankruptcy, right? Let's just take a look at a few. You've got Celsius, you've got FTX, you've got Voyager, and a whole host of others that were in financial difficulty, all of which that financial difficulty seems to have eroded away since the price action of Bitcoin and crypto market moved up. Now, it moved up in a way that without any kind of real demand, without any kind of volume behind it, that makes me wonder, is all of this just a play to grab liquidity out of the market, liquidate assets and get back in business when you were potentially, or when these exchanges and platforms were in financial difficulty? That's kind of where my mind is more at. Compound this down with ETF-based news. Now, Bitcoin ETFs is great. I think it's going to be a fantastic move forward. Bitcoin spot ETFs are going to be a bit of a game changer for the crypto space. This is not something that I deny. This is something that I quite openly acknowledge. What I do think, though, is that 𝗕𝗓𝗪 is not likely to support these exchanges, also these Bitcoin spot ETFs, whilst suing Coinbase, if Coinbase is going to be the custodian of the Bitcoin on the Bitcoin spot ETFs. Okay, so that's one thing. And we also have to acknowledge that there's higher increased risks of failure if the custodian is also an exchange, because this is essentially an FTX. So if you just take a look at the FTX as an example, then why would you use Coinbase as your custodian if it is also an exchange? So I think what 𝗕𝗓𝗪𝗪 and the cronies at the SEC are more than likely going to do is kick that can down the road, basically delay until, of course, they finish their lawsuit with Coinbase, or we see the custodian change within those Bitcoin spot ETFs. Could be one thing that we have to kind of see unfold. And of course, we've got the Binance issue. The Binance issue is quite an interesting one, because essentially this is something that is of interest in regards to the crypto space, because what you've gone and done is the US have removed Binance and CZ as a main competitor, which means market share now pivots over to Coinbase. Was Coinbase the chosen one the entire time? Food for thought, right? And things to kind of consider. Isn't this now a big play on the US side for crypto? And now they're going to start turning crypto friendly now Binance is out of the way and Coinbase, their chosen partner, is in power, getting the larger market share. Food for thought. Let me know your comments in the below. But ultimately, I'm just taking a look at everything and I'm thinking to myself, yeah, we have the Bitcoin halving event next year. That's a pretty positive thing. I think we'll get Bitcoin spot ETFs approved rather probably early next year, something like that. But these aren't going to be big catalysts for us. I mean, of course, we have to acknowledge the Fed pivot as well. A Fed pivot is basically where the interest rates that were going up actually go down. And that's a really bullish sign, but it happens only when the financial markets are at their worst, or more specifically, the people who would normally be looking to invest have no disposable income because liquidity dried up to invest. And as such, the Bitcoin, ETFs approval, the Bitcoin halving event, a Fed pivot, all could come together all together and create a big move to the downside for the Bitcoin price action. So my point in this whole entire video is, yes, I think $100,000 Bitcoin is a nice to have. It's a nice kind of price prediction. It's a nice round number that we can all get behind. But I don't think it's happening anytime soon. All I think here is that we are to be expecting a 40 to 50% pullback in the crypto market. This pullback is going to wreck a lot of retail investors who are unwilling to acknowledge what is right out there in the real world. You cannot treat crypto in isolation to any other financial instrument. And there's a lot of them out there that are going to be affected by what I think is happening in the real world. All in all, I think right now we're at a critical moment for crypto. I think there's going to be end of year accounts that have to be settled, balance sheets that need to be balanced, all before the turn of the new year. And we are going to start seeing a bit of a turn down in the crypto market as more selling pressure starts to mount up. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below, but I am going to wrap this video up right there. Ultimately, I'm really bullish on crypto, but I'm bearish on the short to medium term. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below and I'll catch you all in the next one.